afternoon and welcome to Have a Chat. I'm your host, Audrey Lynch, with my lovely co-host, Judy Loge, and welcome to our show. Hi, Judy.
Hello, Audrey. And just for the viewers, welcome to the show. And if you're looking in my backyard through the glass, you can see that there's still snow on the ground. I'm telling you, it's got to go
Yes.
pretty soon. It's time
Yes.
now. But other than that, we're all still here and we're having our little get together on, with you and I and our viewers. So nice to be here.
Yeah. We've got a great show lined up for our viewers today. We've got a couple of great guests with a couple of really important topics that we want to talk to them about. We have Teresa, who's going to be talking to us about poverty in Canada. We have Kenza, an international student, who's going to be talking to us about the association that she's helped founded. So don't go away. We're going to start off our show like we usually do with a positive quote. And Judy, you're up today with that for us.
Yes, and I knew that those two young ladies were going to be coming on and talking to the topic that you just spoke of. So I tried to find something that would be in relation to all of that. And this is what I came up with. We need leaders not in love with money, but in love with justice, not in love with publicity, but in love with humanity. And that is by none other than the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And as we know it, he was the African American Baptist minister and the most visible spokesperson and leader in the civil rights movement, right? Which was from 1955 until he passed away. He was assassinated in 1968, and he's forever with us.
Yes.
His legend, his nobility lives on, his vision, and I loved how he said at one time too. You cannot drive darkness out with darkness. Only light can. And
That's
that
so true.
hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can drive out hate. He had some great thoughts and beautiful quotes that we can still use today, every day, in fact.
Yes, so true. Definitely. So we're going to start off a quick chat for our show today. What's all been happening now, Judy? For us, it's been a very, very busy week here in Miramichi. I myself took my daughter to Moncton for a dental appointment, and it was a big, big, big day. She got her braces off after almost 2 years. Very exciting day for her. She was thrilled. And I'm so happy for her. She did have quite a bit of an issue with her eye teeth, and it wasn't that long ago. I actually wore braces as well, and you did too, right?
Yeah, I forgot about you. We've been doing this show a long time together, and I forgot about you having braces. Actually, you must have had the Invisalign, did you? The ones that aren't so blatantly metal?
No.
Actually,
no. After my third child was born, actually, I was in my early 30s, and I ended up getting our house was paid for, so I went ahead and finally got my braces, and I had to wear mine for almost 4 years. It was a long time.
Yes. Yeah, no, I did too. And I was actually in my early 30s. I think I was 32 when I decided that I wanted to do this. My teeth, I like my teeth a lot, but I had the same issue as Danae, where there was a little space there from the eye tooth, just enough to make me aggravated. It was more of an aesthetic thing. And the bite, it wasn't for braces weren't to make my teeth like perfect. They were for alignment as well as to close in that little tiny space at the top. I remember it being extremely painful. I hope that nobody's watching this is going out getting braces tomorrow, because it's actually one of the best things you can ever do for your mouth, for your smile, for your confidence, is to have that lovely set of teeth that you've always dreamed about, if possible. But it was painful. I remember coming home and thinking, oh my gosh, like once the wires, the tightening of the wires let go, woohoo. But I'm happy for your daughter. Both of our boys wore braces, and those trips we were going to Moncton at the time. We actually dealt with Dr. John McManaman, and there's so many fantastic orthodontists. And those trips for myself that mostly were able to take the boys were so special. Those little trips in the car with like me and my son alone at different times in their lives was just bonding time, conversation, a meal out, a nice getaway, even though it was for braces. It was something that means a lot to me looking back, the time spent in the car over that period of time with them.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely some mother-daughter bonding for sure in those drives up and back, and listening to her kind of music, and then taking turns and letting mommy play her kind of music back and forth, and actually
That's
having
right.
some really heart-to-heart conversations actually a few
Yep.
times, which was nice,
Yes,
with no
it's
distractions. It
important.
was really, really nice.
It
Definitely.
is. It is. Mm-hmm.
So, tell me a little bit about this little boy who has a wish.
A little
What was
boy
that?
from New Brunswick. His name's
Okay.
James Taylor, and he was 5 years old,
Okay.
born with a genetic condition, and he was very, very
Hmm.
ill, and he was currently at the St. John Regional Hospital. And his wish
Hmm.
through the Make a Wish Foundation was to, I guess the family told him that he was not well, and he wanted this to be fulfilled, to have as many vehicles drive by the hospital as possible. So the St. John
Okay.
city organized it so beautifully that they anticipated perhaps getting 150 cars, like fire trucks and motorcycles and special vehicles, transports, everything, police cars driving by, because that's all this little boy wanted for his final wish. And it happened.
Right.
And they not only got 150 passerbyers in their vehicles going by as he watched with his family and the caregivers at the hospital. They came out, I think they had 10 times as many vehicles as they had planned for, which is
Oh,
like a
wow.
thousand some
You're kidding.
people. And but Audrey,
That's,
sadly, it brought tears to my eyes. He passed away just
oh,
hours after this parade happened. He got his wish, and then he passed
no.
away. And I'm thinking, how sad and tragic is that, but how beautiful that they were able to make it happen. His one last dream. It's just
Oh, for
so
goodness
heartbreaking.
sakes. Yeah,
5 years old.
definitely. I had heard recently of the Make a Wish Foundation. If I'm not mistaken, there was also another patient. I want to say it was a little boy as well, and they were raising money for his wish. And when a large amount of the funds was raised, and they were going to make his wish come true, or I apologize for not
Mhm.
having the details specific, but he turned around and he didn't want his wish. He want the money donated to the Make-A-Wish Foundation for somebody else.
Oh, that's truly special.
Yeah.
That's a special little
Yes.
guy for sure. No, Make a Wish
Yeah.
Foundation they're doing wonderful things for families and giving families support when they need it the most. I
Hmm.
can't even imagine going through that as a parent, that journey of having your baby,
Yeah.
basically a 5 year old, 2 year old, whatever age, that medically ill, and then watching it all. Yeah, it's just
No,
the nursing
exactly.
staff
That's
and the
just
and the,
it.
the staff in general, the doctors are special people that work in those places. Let me tell you, children's hospitals.
Yeah. It is. I actually, my firstborn, when he was first born, um, Brody, he wasn't breathing when he was born, and we spent our first month in the ICU in Moncton.
Oh,
So
oh,
that was a scary, scary time, and yeah, the nurses
very.
and the doctors and different things like that. I commend them, because without
Mm-hmm.
them, their love and their support and everything
Yeah.
that they do, their 12-hour shifts, as a mom who had to physically be up there by herself because my husband had to stay in
Mm-hmm.
Miramichi and work. It was a
Yeah.
struggle. It was hard, and thankfully, things turned out for the good, and I was able to bring my baby
Yes.
boy home a month later. But
Thankfully.
definitely,
Mhm.
lovely work, and I commend them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The other thing that happened that was sort of big this past week is the Academy Awards. I'm a movie buff, and I like to watch a
I
lot of different shows and
know.
different movies. But I'm going to have to say, the two movies that did the most, well, the one movie that got the most awards, actually, as far as like Best Picture, and it even got Best Director and Best Actress,
Mm-hmm.
was Nomadland. Nomadland?
Yeah. What is
You know what
that?
a nomad?
What is that
So
about?
a
Yes,
nomad,
I do know that.
okay,
Yes, I do
what a nomad
know what
is.
that
Okay,
is.
so
But
this is,
but the
yeah,
theme.
the theme of the movie
What's
was
it
this. A
about?
lady, okay, so Fern is a woman in her 60s, finds herself with, like, her husband passes away and she loses everything. So it's just her
Mm.
and her van, and she becomes homeless.
Mm-hmm.
And so she travels across America, and this is her story of being able to fend
Mm.
for herself and to find work,
Yeah.
or to find enough work or money to feed herself and live. And the actress,
Mm.
Frances McDormand, she won Best
Oh, I
Actress
love
for this.
her.
Yes, and I
She's
watched the trailer
that's her,
again today.
yeah, but that's her third
Hmm.
award. That's her third Academy Award now, her third Oscar, I should be saying.
Yes,
She's
yes,
fantastic. Very
she
fantastic. And
is.
I
She's
believe
really
the
good.
director wasn't the director the
The
first
director,
Asian woman
Chloe.
ever. She was a, yes,
Yep,
Chinese
she was a
background. Yes,
female.
she, yeah,
Yep,
made history as the first
Chloe
Asian director.
Zaho.
Yes.
Yeah, she was the female director. Again, I
Super.
think she's that. This is There hasn't been very many female directors that have won for Best Picture, Best Director. I think she's the third female, if I'm not mistaken.
But she's
I
the
could be wrong there.
First Asian woman ever though.
Yes.
Is beautiful. Yes.
Yes, definitely. So that's a movie I can remember seeing the trailer before, and then I watched it again today saying, yes, I
Hmm.
did. I remember seeing that before, and that's a movie I want to see. And Best
Yeah.
Actor went to Anthony Hopkins
My favorite.
for
What
the
can I say
movie.
about Sir Anthony Hopkins? He
Yeah,
is phenomenal. I mean, here's a man,
yeah.
83 years old, 83 years old,
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, what
Yes.
really upset me before we get to the fact that he took home the Best Actor award, as they thought
For the
Chad
movie
Boswick was
Father.
going to take. Yes, but they thought Chad Boswick was going to take it, right? As
Okay.
the best actor. It was a shock to everybody, I think, because that's the kind
Mm-hmm.
of the way it was going down, and it was
Okay.
almost spoken for his spot. But Anthony Hopkins came out and he did win for Father as Best Actor. They really wanted the Academy, the organizers, to have, and it was a very firm rule. Anyone that was going to accept an Academy, be there for the Academy
Mm-hmm.
Awards and accept an Oscar, had to be there in person. It was a stipulation that their
Right.
acceptance speech be in person. He is 83 years
Uh,
old. It's in a
okay.
pandemic.
Yep.
The man was hardly going to leave
Right.
Wales to fly to where the ceremonies were being
Mm-hmm.
held, and chance getting COVID. So he was, you know, it was
Right.
very, they were saying, well, why didn't he show up and where
Okay.
was he? Well, hello, the man, you know,
Yes.
is early 80s. And to me, he's just the best. And
Mm-hmm.
they were upset that Chad Boswick didn't win. But to me, it's not about that. It's who did the best job. They both did an amazing job. But I think it comes
Yes.
down to acting. That's what we're basing the awards on, is
Exactly.
acting and script
The
writing
acting and the character they were playing.
yeah,
Well,
and sound and
just
everything.
watching the
Yeah.
trailer, yeah, just watching the trailer for that movie, Olivia Colman, who played his daughter in that movie, I think she did really, really well. And like I said, I haven't seen either one of these movies. They're both movies that I did
Hmm.
want to see. And of course, with the pandemic, the only thing anybody's watching or I'm watching is Netflix or whatever you can get, whatever it
Yeah.
is you can get on Amazon Prime. So I don't have all of those kinds of movies available to us.
No.
But the story of that one is about, plays the daughter of Anthony Hopkins,
Hmm.
who's suffering from memory loss, and it's quite traumatic. Even just a little bit of the trailer that I seen with, that
Hmm.
forgetfulness, and 1 minute he's there and 1 minute he's not, and it's almost frightening, actually. I
Yeah,
found.
but he's you. I don't think you can really, in my personal opinions, you can't top Anthony Hopkins. I find him just
No.
phenomenal as an actor, and
Yeah.
I love movies too, but not like you. But I do follow him
Mm-hmm.
and his life, and I have huge admiration for him. And I was looking at some of the gowns. I think everybody did the best. You know, they were all just excited
Oh,
to get dressed up. Period. Nobody's going, like one
yeah.
woman said, "Here I am with a baby at home." One of the actresses, with slop all over me, my sweatpants on, my hair in a ponytail. And she said, this is such an honor, even though it's not the same, nothing's
Mm-hmm.
normal, but we're still getting a chance to
Right.
celebrate. And we're still getting a chance to be
That's
with our
right.
significant others and dress up and feel good and look good. And I think that was really nice, because otherwise it was a pretty boring, I think, very quiet
Well,
kind of occasion.
they try. Yeah, they tried to this year. They did it from two locations in LA. They were at the Dolby Theater, where they usually do, and then they used Union Station as well, so that they could,
Yeah.
I believe, so that they could separate the bulk of the people that were going to be there. And
Right, right.
the other thing that I was going to say is, from watching some of the newscasts prior to it, was that they were going to try and make it movie-like as opposed to,
Oh, yeah.
the normal traditional. Now, whether that
Mm-hmm.
happened or not, I'm not exactly sure. The bits and pieces that I
Mm-hmm.
watched, I was entertained by the people that they had who were critiquing the outfits and the clothing and the dresses and the hair.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah.
hilarious. And I think
Yeah.
they did a really, really good job. There wasn't anything that I seen that I thought was really, really far out there. Most of the stuff I really was impressed with. I thought was quite gorgeous, and even some of
Mm-hmm.
the way the men were dressed. That
Yes, I
they,
noticed
I
that
thought they
too.
did a really, really great job.
I think Margot Robbie was the show stealer as far as her look goes. I mean, she's drop dead gorgeous anyway, but she just
Yes.
pulled it off. I if I had to give a gold star to anybody, it would be Margot Robbie. She's an Australian
Yeah.
actress, and I mean, just has it all together. I really like just watching people come together and celebrate anything because this COVID
Hmm.
has been going on, and we're really grasping for
Yes.
moments that are like, oh, this is so nice and it's celebratory, and we need more of that to feel kind of let's get back to it. And I can't wait for my first event to get dressed up. I can't wait,
No.
Audrey, just to get my heels
Okay.
on and my
Well,
jewelry on.
we can't wait any longer either. We're going to get our show started. So we are going to take our first commercial break, and we're going to bring back two amazing guests. Don't go far. We'll be back with more Have a Chat after the break. Good afternoon and welcome back to Have a Chat. I'm your host, Audrey Lynch, with my lovely co-host, Judy Loge. And joining us now is our very first guest and my very own daughter, Teresa Lynch. Hello, Teresa.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. Hi, Teresa. Welcome. So nice to have you and your mom together on the show.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks for joining us today, Teresa. First up, we're going to get you to tell us a little bit about yourself in case there's anybody out there who doesn't know who you are.
Sure, yeah. So I'm from Miramichi, New Brunswick. I'm 25. I feel like I'm in a classroom. I'm 25, and Audrey's my mother. Very grateful for the family that I have. I come from a family of 4 siblings, and my mom, my dad. So, yeah, that's it.
That's you in a nutshell, right? Yes. Well, I've been really following you as a writer on the side as a hobby that you do, and I think you're extremely skilled. And I also know that you're very much into education and you're always learning and wanting to bring more information to everybody around you. And we're very eager to learn, myself, your mom, and the viewers today. So, what is it exactly that you're studying at this time, and where are you going to college at this time, Teresa?
So I took my undergrad in psychology at the University of Prince Edward Island. So I moved here right after graduation. I did move home for a bit, and then I came back to do my honors. So my undergrad was psychology, and then I minored in biology and political science. And I'm doing my honors right now in liberation psychology. So
Oh,
that is a probably something that is most people aren't used to hearing. But the
no.
subject itself originated somewhere around the 1950s. The person probably most important involved in that was Martin Barrow, an academic scholar and a social psychologist who was working on it up until the Civil War in El Salvador. So what he saw was the amount of people in poverty who were suffering and weren't getting any help from the government. There was a lot of inequality. There still is across South America and arguably North America in a new day, kind of post-industrialized technological inequality.
Hmm.
And the key concept of this work is called critical consciousness. So that sounds like a big word, but what it means is becoming aware of how your brain works. So things that influence and shape how you think and what it has showed us is that when you become aware through practices like dialogue, so meaningful, critical conversations, asking questions, we're able to reflect, which brings about social action and social change.
Well, that's just it. Critical thinking is definitely the key phrase there, right? If we don't sit around and have the dialogue and become aware, then nothing can go forward in the way of making things right or better or justifiable and bringing justice. So, yes, of course, that's very, very important what you just talked about. And it's a really interesting study that you're doing, I must say, too. I'd not heard tell of that particular degree.
Yeah, I mean, I
Awesome.
love it for a reason, that's for sure. It relates to everything.
So why is this important, Teresa?
The easiest way to explain it is that society consists of structures. So you can think of it as there being three different levels. The first level being the individual level. So what's going on in your brain and your mind. And the second being on an interpersonal level, your relationships, groups you belong to, interaction. And the third level being on a societal level, bigger structures, organizations, policies, our healthcare and education systems. And each level impacts the other levels. So the structures around us impact the way we think, and then the way we think impacts the structures that we create. But some of those structures have existed, as we know, and have originated centuries ago during different mindsets. So those mindsets influence how we think today. And it's important because when we're talking about social problems and wanting to create social change, we don't really look at the bigger picture, how history has shaped what we're doing now. We're kind of downstream trying to patch up the leaks of a leaky water pipe. We tend to go, okay, we need more of this and more programs. And that's not to say that programs are not important. We do need them. But we have to look further back along this pipe to say, what is causing the pipe to burst in the first place and the leaks? Maybe we need to look at what we're, the way that we're doing things.
Yeah.
Instead of keeping on putting more Band-Aids.
I mean, yeah. Well, what's going on further upstream?
That's a good explanation. Teresa, how does this all relate to the poverty that's well known in Canada? And maybe you could just give us some numbers.
The opposite of liberation is oppression. And in this study, we're looking at economic oppression. So there's a lot of data about poverty in Canada. And what we were just talking about there with the leaky pipe, we were talking about root causes. So how mindsets in history and their structures impact the way we think. And the root causes of inequalities that we have here in Canada, which are then worsened and exacerbated by poverty. Poverty allows those inequalities to continue because poverty works like a trap. Are types of oppression that we tend to think about as existing only in the past. Racism, sexism, ableism, just some for an example. But when you look at poverty and you think about slavery, colonialism, residential schools, oppression against women, other cultures, against people with disabilities, homophobia, transphobia, just to name some of them, marginalized people who didn't have the same type of rights as others, voting, owning property. And you think about our economic system, so capitalism, which is individually competing in a market, right, of goods and services. To compete, you need resources. You need resources to compete. Right. So all of these barriers were placed in front of certain groups of people and identities, and we've yet to fully remove those barriers. And that's why when you look at poverty today, Judy, you're asking me about numbers. You see more single mothers in poverty. 1 in 4 single mother households are food insecure, which means they can't afford proper nutrition for their children, which affects how they do in school. It results in health inequities later in life, which also cost money. The poverty rate in Canada is 1 in 5 for children, but for Indigenous children specifically, it's 1 in 2.
Oh, wow.
Indigenous communities, Indigenous communities don't have the same access to education support that majority white communities do. Some of them don't even have clean water. And And it's why you see persons with disabilities and racialized persons and new immigrants, for example, that have higher rates of poverty because of discrimination and employment barriers. And it's a lot easier to say, it's not that other people don't have barriers too, but those barriers don't relate to the structures of oppression that these people are facing. And it's so much easier to say, you know, go with the stereotypes because of the way that common sense seems like people are lazy, it's the drugs or something like that. People just accept it, but that's not the reality. It's what we see, right? So that's not what the data is telling us. And it's harder to think about what's actually going on in the bigger picture, but that's what we need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Such an important topic. So what is it that people can do as individuals to change the way people think about this and to be able to make things better?
That's probably my favorite question. So there's two things I think, and the biggest thing is definitely to educate yourself. Critical thinking, which means becoming aware of the mindsets that you have and why you have them. Maybe prejudice, the different prejudices and stereotypes that might be at play there. Because the way the brain works is that we're constantly taking in information. We're programmed to organize things into categories and group people into categories in order to be able to respond faster in situations.
Right.
But so much of that is happening subconsciously, which means that we're not aware of the information our brain is saving, and that impacts how we think. So the practice here is becoming aware. It may seem like a lot, like that sounds like a lot of effort. That sounds hard to do, but it's really just asking yourself, okay, why do I think that? Why do I believe that? Who benefits from me thinking that? And the most important thing is, do I have the fuller picture? Is there more that I could learn about this? Maybe there's more going on that I can't see, and more than what common sense or what we think is common logic is telling us, because just because something is common doesn't mean it's factual or well informed.
Right.
And then number two,
that's true.
yeah. Number two, while you're educating yourself, think about supporting a basic income guarantee, I think is the biggest thing. Looking into platforms that are doing something about poverty. When you're voting, ask what parties are doing something to eradicate poverty. And that is the goal is to eradicate poverty, to address what I would absolutely call an economic crisis that's going on. Ask your MLA what they're doing to solve poverty. There's a website at basicincomecanda.org. There's a fun little 3-minute video that really explains what a basic income guarantee is and why we need it. The world is changing. A lot of jobs, we rely on employment for money to live. And a lot of jobs are going to be replaced by computers. We're entering a new era. So anyway, yeah, I would say to educate yourself. And poverty is a real problem that worsens other types of inequalities. As long as we have poverty, we won't truly be able to deal with the racism problem and the sexism problem and other types of prejudices that we're trying to address. So
that's right. One just leads into the other. Teresa, you know, it's so interesting for us to be talking about all of this. There's so much heaviness to the subject, and it breaks my heart to know that the stats are that, you know, 1 in 2 of Indigenous children or families, you said, are in poverty. Is that what you said? Yes.
1 in 2 children. Yes.
Yeah, well, that's mind blowing. Where do you see yourself? I know you're 25, you said, but where do you see yourself, say 5 years from now? What's your main goal, and what role would you like to attain ultimately?
I would love to study economics, economic policy, maybe law. I really am interested in economic justice and education. I am taking a master's in global affairs, so I'll be able to look at things on a more global level. But
Yes.
I am just truly interested in helping my community and doing what I can while I'm here to point out
Contribute.
the injustice. Yeah.
And you're so passionate. I love your passion, because without passion, you can't get anywhere. You have a thought, you have a degree, but I have those things too. But without my passion to exceed beyond my university level, I wouldn't have been content just to do that. So I'm always trying to better myself, better my community. And I think that's what we all have to do, is not just stop and say, okay, I've done this now. What next? It's kind of like, what next is what I really, really set out to do in the first place. And that's to make a change. And yours is to make a change in all of the very many areas that you just pointed out. And I know you will succeed in that. And I'm really proud of you bringing this topic to the table and for pursuing a college degree and a master's degree in something that not a lot of us know about. Really, we don't. It's enlightening.
Well, thank you so much. And yeah, when you said that, pushing yourself forward and pursuing an education, I just think it's important to, not just look in front of you, but also look at the people behind you and turning around and,
Right.
understanding the ways that we can help. But yeah, thank you so much for having me.
No, you're amazing.
Did you, can you tell us a little bit about, because like Judy said, you have quite a passion for this, and we've chatted ourselves before a few times about this, and it's definitely easy to see that you have such a strong passion for this. Can you tell me a little bit, looking back on yourself, like in going into university, where did this stem from? Was it specific studies that drove you towards this particular direction?
Yeah, so I do have a specific moment, I think. And I guess this is like, going way back. It wasn't that long ago, but I guess in high school, I've always been a curious person. I've always been like, why is this? I think my mother remembers, I wouldn't shut up about it. Like,
Why?
I just like,
why?
But why? Yeah. So, but I think that's an important skill to have. And I do think that my mother helped it flourish that, she never stopped me from asking questions, or she encouraged me to want to know more. But when I was in high school, I took a class, it was a world issues class. And I just remember looking at different people in different areas and situations around the world and going, oh my goodness, like there's so much more, there's so much bigger than what my situation is. And
that would have been with Mr. Terrio, I think. Yes.
Yeah, it was. He's great. And
yes,
just thinking like the lottery of birth, I guess is what it's called. So if I could have been born anywhere in the world into any situation. So it is difficult to put yourself in someone else's shoes and think about, we like to say that we have all of this control and that we would do something differently in that situation. But until we really educate ourselves and know what those barriers really are and what it's like. And I just remember sitting in class and thinking, why is it that there's somebody who's my age, I would have been 16, I guess, who doesn't have this opportunity that I have right now to go to school. They're taking care of their siblings, wondering when their next meal is going to be, and might only have their shirt on their back. And I was like, that's not fair. Why aren't we doing something about this? So I think that just really just caused me to question a lot of the systems that we have. And all of our systems are human made. We created them. Exactly. They stem from history. So there's so much potential to do something about it. Absolutely. Progress.
Well, again,
right.
Definitely, yeah. Teresa. We want to thank you for joining us today and enlightening us on a very, very important topic. And hopefully we get the word out there and things change just by, you opening up the conversation. Again, thank you so much for joining us.
We have to talk about it. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa.
We'll be back. We'll be back with more Have a Chat after the break. Don't go away. Welcome back to Have a Chat. I'm your host, Audrey Lynch, with my lovely co-host, Judy Loge, and joining us now is our second guest, Kenza Benuno. Hello, Kenza. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
We're
We're
good. We're
good.
really
We're good.
happy to
We're
see you.
excited to
Thank
have
you for,
you.
I'm
yeah,
really
join
glad
us.
Yes.
to be here as well.
Nice.
Yes, definitely. Kenza, now our first question for you today is going to be if you could tell our viewers a little bit about who you are and about yourself.
Sure. Well, my name is Kenza. I'm originally from Morocco. I've been in Canada for 3 years now. I was in Quebec before moving to New Brunswick. I studied finance in CCNB in Dieppe, and I just moved to Miramichi about 6 months ago.
Hmm. Tell us more.
Oh,
Tell us
wow.
more. Tell us a little bit about your
Oh,
family back in Morocco and where you fit in, if you have siblings, a little bit about that lifestyle briefly.
sure. Well, I have two old brothers. I'm the only girl. I came to Canada at 18, and my whole family is in still Morocco. It all started
Oh,
as a joke,
wow.
and I ended up coming here.
Oh, for goodness sake.
So you're here to talk about
That's
business,
fantastic.
and your topic today, I guess we're going to start the question right off so you can share with our viewers all the information that we want answers to, and everybody that's listening will be informed on. How did the International Students Association of New Brunswick all come about?
Well, March last year, when the pandemic started, I felt as an international student underrepresented. Like in the news, we heard about permanent resident, we heard about Canadian people, but not a single soul talk about international students. And we do
Okay.
exist, we do have value, and no one talked about
Mm-hmm.
us. So I was like, you know what? I should make a difference.
Mm.
So there was a random group, like it was really a random page on Facebook that someone started to support international students. I saw it and was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm going to send a message and say that I'm going to volunteer and help. And that's what I did. I sent a message saying, hey, I love the concept. Can I help? And they were like, yes, sure, please help because we don't really know what to do. So we started to figure it out. We went from probably 30 full to more than 800 people following us. We turned the page to a group.
Wow.
We started, I saw that there was like an emotional
Wow.
coach who was giving some sessions. So I reached out to him, doesn't know me, I was like, hi there, that's who I am, that's what I'm doing. I want you to help us because we really deal with a lot of mental issues and I'm not qualified enough
Mm-hmm.
for that. So we
Mm-hmm.
started by doing some emotional sessions. People started to open up, started to say that they do need help, and we're like, okay, this is really serious. So we turned from a group that was here to support people for transportation, housing, finance, or just to listen. We were just someone, if
Oh.
you want to talk, I'm here to listen to you. So we turned
Mm.
from that random group to a real association because
Mm-hmm.
we feel the need, we feel that people needed to be heard, and
Yeah.
there is no organization at all in whole Canada that will talk about international students, like at
Hmm.
all. There are some associations in campuses in universities and colleges, but they're not related between them. Like I don't know people in
Okay.
other universities and they don't know me, and
No.
we wanted
Yeah.
to change
Right.
that.
Yeah.
That
Mm-hmm.
sounds fantastic. It's amazing that a group like a Facebook group started and it just grew so quickly and so fast because of course obviously there was a great need for something like this to be formed. Now, can you tell me a little bit about the specific goals and missions of this association? Like what was specifically do you want to be able to achieve with this group, with this association?
Well, our mission is to connect with all international students all over Canada. We want to provide
Okay.
a sense of community and we want to
Mm-hmm.
ease life of international students. We want to foster a sense of belonging because we want someone who come here to say, I'm a New Brunswicker too. That's what I want people to say. I don't want them to say, oh, I'm from Morocco, I'm from India, I'm from Europe, I
Yeah.
want them to say, this is my home. And that's
Mhm.
our
Nice.
goal. I want to be the voice of these people. We have a goal of create a nationwide network. We want to provide opportunities, funds, scholarship, more education. We want to educate people about First Nations because we don't know them. When we come here as international students, we don't know Canada's story. We want to be able
Yep.
to tell new people that's your new home story. You need to know it.
Mm-hmm.
We want
Yes.
to assist them when they arrive. We want to assist them when they're sitting. We want to assist them to integrate with people here. Like we really want them to feel that New Brunswick is home, that Canada is home.
Right. That's the greater
Yes.
purpose right there, is to encompass everybody and inclusivity and make them feel welcome and as one. And I love that unity, that idea that you're getting there, you're doing it actually. I love that, the mission. And so with COVID, this pandemic that we know is just continuing and we don't see, an end in sight. How do you, so you do your meetings by Zoom, I assume? Obviously you can't have, do you have even local groups meet in person at social distancing, or do you do everything from afar over virtual?
To be honest with you, we are 10 members of the association. We've never
Okay.
met each other in person.
Oh,
We
Oh,
that's
have
wow.
hard.
here in
Okay.
Miramichi, we have some in Fredericton, or you have some in the Philippines, some in Europe, like some in
Mm,
India as well, some in Nepal.
yes.
Yeah,
You're really
Oh,
wanting
for
to
it's
get
goodness.
together to meet these people. You would love to have a face-to-face
I
dialogue and sit
can't
around the
wait
table.
for that.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
I
has been a year
know.
So,
now that we're together. Like we're here together. We're
Yes.
fighting for this association, and we've
Yeah.
never met each other. Like we did a lot of Zoom meetings, but that's all.
so in the
Yeah.
in the
As crazy
beginning
as
when this Yeah, in the beginning when this all began, because we chatted a little bit beforehand, um, and you had come here and you had graduated yourself last March, correct? And then you are the
I graduated in
founder of
June.
this. Yeah, or in June, pardon me. And you're the founder of this association, but now there's a board of directors, correct? And so
Exactly.
a president is one of the students as well, an international
Yeah.
student. Now, I just want to touch base to make sure people understand that this group was organized and formed because you felt like international students were being misrepresented, that there was no help out there for you when this pandemic hit us here in Canada with the rules and regulations that went across the board for everybody. You felt that international students were left out
Exactly.
of the loop. Exactly. That's just it.
Yeah.
So, how far has this all come as far as being able to bring in people that can help with the different situations like employment and different things like that, that the international students are running into because of the pandemic and because they're not Canadian citizens as of yet?
Well, what kind of helped is that people felt more open. People would reach out
Mm-hmm.
and would say what's wrong. Just this trust that people has in us really, really make a big difference. We know that international students trust us. We know that they reach out and they open up. That makes a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Now we are starting to ask for funding from government
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
all of that. We start a film application and asking for funding because we want to create jobs in our association and give those jobs to international students. Because when we come
Mm-hmm.
to Canada, we come with no experience and kind of hard to get a job with no experience.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
we really want to be the
Definitely.
first kind of step for international students.
Mm-hmm. How does it work, Kenza,
Exactly.
with your board where you have that many people involved from all parts of the world? Or how does it work to elect a president and a board of directors?
So for the president, it was a choice of we did a vote, and ends up we
Mm-hmm.
wanted an international student to be the president. That was important for us. So we
Right.
vote for her. She's the president right now. After 6 months, we do a new vote again, and change if we want to. For the directors, we have directors. We do have a team for each director. We have position available all the time. We have ambassadors in all universities and colleges as well. So ambassadors that will represent us. Yeah.
Right. That's good. You've got it all laid out really nicely there. So it's now, so funding's a big thing though. And with the elections coming up, you should be really chasing after the right people to get that money that you need to keep this beautiful enterprise, this goal obtained for sure. Yes.
Yeah.
So tell us, where do you see yourself now that you graduated last June? You're employed here in Canada. So what's the future hold for you?
I don't know. I work in finance. I love what I'm doing. I really do. I love this connection that I have with people, so it will definitely have something to do with people. I know I love always comes to association and helping people. I mean, when we started the association, it was like it's meant to be. We like the passion
Very
that we have
meaningful.
there is yeah, the passion that people have there is amazing. Like you have no idea. We're all just a bunch of students who are either graduated or about to graduate and just wanted to help. We didn't ask, like, we're not getting paid for that, and we spent hours working on it and make it work. So on the future, it will be really something real between finance and helping people, something in the between, I guess. So we'll see.
Right. Do you
Definitely.
have any other do you have any other students that have come to join you in New Brunswick from Morocco?
No, not yet. I'm still looking for them.
Oh,
No.
you're gonna have to get a nice new New Brunswick boyfriend. I'll have to try to find a new boyfriend for you now if you don't already have one. A nice New Brunswick
No,
lad.
I'll get you to find one for me.
Yeah. So what about people, what about other students internationally that are looking to come to Canada to be an international student here? Are you able to be a link for them? Would this association be a good way for them to, realize that this help is here for them when they're looking to come over?
We can provide resources for sure. We can provide help. We can give advices, but we're not equipped enough to give real advice. Like we don't have any immigration diploma.
Okay. Right.
So we're not allowed to, but we can absolutely give resources.
Is language, I'm just always curious about language. Kenz, I have a sister that moved from New Brunswick and to Toronto for 10 years, and she moved to Spain almost 2 years ago. Is that, like, I would be so lost if I had to go to another country. So can you talk to us just briefly about the language component and how difficult it is for, language training, or do most people come with their main language, their first native language, and then how's that all work with the language part?
It depends. It depends, and thanks for bringing that because that's very important. When we come to Canada, we come with a background, and we all come with an accent. And people sometimes find like it sucks. I don't understand this person because he has or she has an accent. I don't understand them. I want to talk to someone else. We've heard that, and I had people reaching out to me saying that's what people are telling me. I don't want to do presentation anymore in front of the class because no one understands me. I don't want to work in front of people because they won't understand. I've heard that a lot.
Right.
But I say that when you have an accent, that means you have a story, you have a background, you have a culture, you have something else to add.
Right.
So be proud of that accent.
Exactly.
I think it's awesome. I
than
think it's
the other person.
fantastic.
Yeah.
My sister had
Now,
to
we
learn,
had
of course, sorry, Audrey.
No, that's okay,
go
Judy.
ahead.
I was just going to mention we had a guest on previously who was talking a little bit about poverty in Canada and the different situations that may lead to that, and a little bit of it touched on one of the subjects of racism and the potential for that with different diverse groups. Now, are you finding that that would be something that also trickles over into international students, that they struggle with finding employment and finding housing? Is that something as well?
See, racism exists, and I won't deny that racism exists. It's how you face it. When I was in my first year in the college, normally in the second year we have to find an internship. And when I was in my first year, I had friends who were graduating the next year, and they were like, "It's really hard to find an internship." I studied finance, so my field is banks, and we're like, it's really hard to find a job in banks, etc. They're racist. In saving the insurance, people are racist. You won't find a job, etc. So I did the first step of knocking on all the banks' door and saying I'm looking for jobs, to connecting to people, to sending a lot of messages, to ask people to go to a coffee with me to get to know them. And I spent a lot of money on coffees, but you know what? It ends up working. Like when you try to connect with the right people, when you do the first steps, when people can see that you want to achieve something, that you are ambitious, even if they're racist, they need you. So they're gonna keep you.
True. Yes. True. Well, that's just it. You were a go-getter, you're ambitious, you were looking for a job, and you weren't going to stop until you got it. And like you said, you went out there, you were knocking on the doors, asking them to go for coffee, and you didn't give up on yourself. And you should be so, so proud of that, Kenza. That's truly amazing. And I'm hoping that the group that you've helped found gives inspiration to other international students out there to be able to, unfortunately, like you said, racism does exist, but the way you handled it and the way you took it on, you were able to push through that and be able to find employment in our country. And I wish you the best of luck in all your endeavors, and being able to share that with other international students and be able to help them get on their feet and become the best that they can be here in Canada or whatever country they decide to settle in.
Kenza, you're delightful. What are just a couple of words, what's the best thing about Canada?
People. I will say people.
One word. Good answer.
Definitely.
Awesome.
Definitely very, very friendly. Definitely a hometown feel here all across Canada. Again, we want to thank you for joining our show today. We want to thank our viewers for tuning in and watching us. For those of you who are watching us faithfully, thank you. We'll keep on trucking through and finding more guests and bringing great topics for you to listen to. Thanks again for watching from all of us here at Have a Chat. Have a great day.